Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 2, where we'll be creating assessments and designing learning activities for our future students. I will note that if you go back to week 1, where we were building our understanding for digital literacy and computer science and then constructing our initial philosophy, we will take all of that thinking and ideas and apply it to this week's creating our assessments and designing learning activities. There's 3 different sections for this week, which is connected to the first one's connected to learning objective 3, which is creating an assessment. And there's a couple of different activities that will lead up to your final demonstration where you'll actually share your thinking about an assessment that you could make for your future students. You will then continue on to learning objective 4, where you will be designing a learning activity that will lead up to students being successful in the assessment that you outlined in the beginning. And then at the end of the week, we have reflections on this full learning cycle 1. As these first 2 weeks are all on digital literacy and computer science, we're now finishing that learning cycle, and we have a 3-2-1 bridge to close from the first 3-2-1 bridge that you started in the beginning of the learning cycle. And then we have a flip grid to transfer your learning uh, into your future role as an educator. So let's take a look at all of these assignments in depth. So we have our overview in writing, which you can take a look at, and that's really basically what I'm saying in this video, but if you like it in writing, you can have that there. The second thing that you'll see is what is due when. And this is a great document for you to see all the different assignments that are due this week and if there's replies required for outstanding marks or not. And then the first assignment, which I'll show you here, which is a lesson plan exploration, which is tied to this form. So if you go into the lesson plan exploration, you'll see what we're doing here is we're taking a look at other people's lesson plans and not really kind of learning about what the lesson plan is, but what are the real outcomes and what are the evidence of learning as we are going to be looking deeply into standards and what does the outcomes look like, what is the evidence of learning, and how do I know that students were successful. So go through these different sites here, and you're going to find different lesson plans, and you'll identify 2 lesson plans where you will then summarize the lesson plan and include in your own words what were the actual learning outcomes and what were the evidence that the students were learning. So then, as we've been diving deeper into creating our assessments and thinking about our philosophy, before we go any further, we're going to think about our philosophy of last week, and we're going to see how does that apply to assessments and learning activities that we're designing this week. So here's the flip grid, and you will be having a discussion prompt here about what are the elements in your philosophy that you'll make sure that come alive in your assessments and learning activities this week. Okay, so then now we got our heads around including our philosophy, and we've looked at other people's lesson plans and thought about their outcomes and their evidence of learning. You will then be creating your own assessment. And I've detailed out in this video about what this is all about, but essentially we're going to be using Google Slides to collaborate here, which is a really neat way. It's different than a forum, so it's kind of nice to mix it up. And you'll identify 2 different standards and see how they connect. And then you'll really be unpacking the standards here on your own slide. And you'll be talking about, okay, what are the verbs? What are the concepts we really need to learn here? What are the real success criteria? And then what's your idea? How can we get creative about students showing evidence that they're learning these standards? How's it connected to your philosophy? And then what is the learning along the way that we got to make sure that students know for them to be successful in this assessment? Because then that will lead to the second half of the week, which is learning objective 4, is designing the actual activities that students will be doing so that they can be successful in the standard that you outlined here in the Google Slides. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to engage in Padlet and check out an idea wall where you will be posting some assignments. I can take a quick link there, and really you just you double click on the Padlet after you find some resources or videos or ideas that connect to your standards, and it's a great way for us all to share together so that we're constantly learning together as a community of learners. Then you will be des- uh, des- uh, sorry, identifying essential elements to ensure that all students will learn. So let's have a look here. Most of us are looking to be teachers with careers in special education. So there's a lot of articles here that are talking about that and how do we ensure that all students are learning? What are those essential elements that we have to be including in our learning activities? If you're not going to be uh, a special education teacher, you could look at the first resource here to get some ideas about what are those essential elements. And you need to come up with 4 essential elements that you're going to be that you would be that you would want to be including in your learning activities going forward. And then we are at the end of this learning objective 4, where you're going to actually be designing the learning activity. And I have a templates and ideas here and some guidelines to help you design your learning activities. So we have all of these different expectations for it and the things you need to include. But what I highly recommend is trying to look at some of these templates I have here. So you can click here and make a copy if you want to use it. I have a video here too that shows you how to use them. And these are actual hyperdocs that are designed for students to do lessons at their own place. But really, this is a way for you to think about a chronological order that you can help students during a learning activity. And if you want to use another template or you have a better lesson plan, I don't want to take away your creativity. So you could show me in any format, of course, but I believe that hyperdocs are a great place to start and a great place to find lessons that are already made as well. So then you will be sharing your learning activity in the forum. And then in the forum, I list again what needs to be included in your philosophy. Oh, that's teaching learning math. That's a different one. I don't want to redo it, so I'm going to go over here and click on designing your learning activity, posting it to the forum. And you have to include a couple of other things here. I reiterate that what the first task is really designing the lesson plan or learning activity. And you can click here again to see the same document I showed you before. And the second task is actually posting it to the forum, linking it in, telling us what the standards are, who's your audience, what practice or guiding principle is it aligned to as well, how does the design of this learning activity align with your philosophy, and what's one essential element that you're going to make sure that you include in this activity or lesson plan. And then when you're all done, you reply to 2 other people to give them feedback on their activities as well. Okay. And then when we're all done with all of these learning activities, we're going to be coming back to our thinking of the previous week. Let me scroll down. Sorry. Let's get to, let's get to week 2. Uh, we will be closing the 3-2-1 bridge of digital literacy and computer science. And that's where you're going to be able to look at the thinking that you had before you started this course and started learning about digital literacy and computer science. And let me click on that here. And you will actually be copying and pasting your 3-2-1 bridge from week 1, and you'll be redoing a new 3-2-1 bridge and then bridging your thinking. So, how has your thinking changed over the week? And what new learnings have really come up based on you doing a 3-2-1 bridge twice in the beginning and in the end? And then finally, you'll be heading over to Flipgrid and thinking about how are you transferring your learning that you've done in the past 2 weeks to your future role as an educator. And this is just a great activity to make sure that we're thinking about how have we how can we apply all of the learning that we've done to our future careers. So you just have to reply to one person on top of that to share thinking and building our community of learners here. So if you have any questions, just let me know. And yeah, I look forward to seeing your assessments and learning activity this week, and have a great day.